Amin, I really wanted to start today's show crushing Greg Berhalter.
Oh, we got to crush the entire U.S. men's national team program. We have to.
I want to. I wanted to send a message and come out the gates with it, but then something happened as we were getting into position here. I got a mobile alert, and it was a Woj bomb, and it was that Donovan Mitchell has extended with the Cleveland Cavaliers, leaving Jeremy Taché so little time to come up with spin. So, Jeremy, I hate to do this to you. I know you're not a fan of these positions, but people are coming right now to drink your tears. This nukes the plan right now. Pat's got to come up with something unforeseen because Donovan Mitchell has extended. He has decided to stay with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the talent pool is drying up once again for Miami.
We spoke about it yesterday, that Pat Riley and the Heat do feel confident about the team that they have. I'm just telling you what the Heat think.
No, I saw those reports yesterday, and I was like, wow, we're already succumbing.
Yeah, I mean, look, that those have been the reports all off season long. They were the reports at the end of the season where it was Miami looking at their team, looking at their health throughout the year, looking at what the Eastern Conference standings looked like, and believing they could improve on the youth that they have and not to overpay to go get another star.
So they're running it back.
I don't know. There's still plenty of time in this offseason to make other moves. All of the flurry of moves that happened yesterday, those are often with the teams that have cap space to move into. You often see trades happen later on. But the reality is yeah, it looks like this team is going to be similar to the roster construction you saw last year, at least at the given moment, unless somebody else becomes unhappy and wants to be either down here or somewhere else. Miami's in a position now where they look at their young core and they say, okay, this is what we have to support Bam and his extension. You have Jimmy Butler now in what is a contract year, and you operate from there. I mean, I'm intrigued to know what you think about the position that Miami is in, because I'm not necessarily saying what my views on this are as much as what I know the Heat believe about the team.
I came to you for Heat Spin. You gave me the Heat Spin, and they had already started laying that foundation with some writers that had covered. I guess maybe they had started getting an inkling that Donovan Mitchell was going to be extending, and that's where the momentum was heading, by the way, with Mitchell extending. And there were a lot of Heat fans that just didn't want to believe it. I mean, it seems as though we can, if we were to hand out a grade for the Miami Heat's offseason to this point, I mean, they got a top 15 draft pick, okay? He's got some...
And they really like him. For what it's worth,
they got a draft pick they really like.
Really
I'm waiting for the team to come out and say, like, you know what?
Well, this guy kind of sucks.
It's more of a...
3 days later, we fucked up.
I think in that, all I'm trying to say is he was a guy who was on their board from the beginning, and they didn't take Connect despite the fact that he felt to them.
Incomplete for the Heat, but... I want to talk about the Donovan Mitchell extension because, like, words have power. Words have power, right? So you hear the story, Donovan Mitchell signs an extension. Like, oh, God, he's gone forever now. He's locked in. How long of an extension? 3 years? Oh, he had 2 years left and he signed a 3-year extension? Because he has 24-25 coming up, right? And then 25-26 was a player option. So what they did was they tore up that player option. And they said, we start the extension there. So 24-25 was already there. 25-26, year 1 of the extension. 26-27, year 2 of the extension. 27-28, year 3, player option. So in essence, he's just there an extra 2 years from where we thought he would be.
It's what Jimmy was asking for.
Okay, but I understand for Donovan Mitchell, this is not as long-term a commitment as it would seem, even though Cavs fans have every right to be excited because they talked a superstar into actually saying, and it does shift Miami's timeline because when you were thinking about the talent acquisition front, Donovan Mitchell was at the top of the list. He was.
He was the guy because, you know, he and Bam are friends. You look at a guy who seemingly was unhappy.
Heard this for 3 years now. And a whole bunch of superstars want to play with Bam because they know the deal. They can come right in here and be the guy.
Why do the Heat always feel like they're on year 2 of a 5-year plan?
Billy, I am welcome of your perspective because
I'm just curious. Like, these teams are rebuilding in like 2 years. Every team has activity except
they get bad and then get good most of the time.
No, but
Would you
Miami
rather
was
get bad
last
and
year.
then
Miami was
good, or
bad.
be a
Or be
play-in
good the
team
whole
every
time.
good?
They've been good. I mean, it's insane to say that
They weren't good last
this
year.
build hasn't been good.
They
They
were
had
bad.
a bad year.
They were bad last year.
They
They were
also
bad
had
last
a
year.
miracle run the year before where they were playing team again.
Feels like a good year, though, right?
That's a good
Great
year.
year. End of the
And
finals.
any year you beat the Boston Celtics in the playoffs is a good year. So we'll take that. But this is a team that has had a few breaks and found good form in the playoffs. Look, if they lose in the first round last year, everyone is saying, "What are we doing here? You got to blow up the entire team. Pat Riley should resign," but they didn't. They made it to the finals, and that's just another chip on the. That's another chip when you're playing poker and you're trying to get talent to come here to Miami. You got the rings, you got the Heat culture thing, and that was just another thing to put under that Heat culture banner. But the Heat fans are getting pretty restless, and
Certainly.
from what I'm shocked that they haven't done something major. Now, that's not to say they're not working on major things, but the impression that I got from talking to people in and around that franchise was that they got a solid sampling of humble pie, and they knew that things had to change. And for the spin cycle to already be turning about running this thing back and practicing patience, that is not aligned with what I was hearing over the last few weeks.
Here's the flip side of that. It's July 2nd.
Right.
And the pieces and the bodies that have moved are the free agents, which you were never going to factor into, right? Like Donovan Mitchell is the first, like, oh, that was the guy we wanted. He's off the board. That's the first one that's happened.
Yeah.
So there's still
We don't have a superstar malcontent right now.
Brandon Ingram is going to be on. Is he a superstar? Maybe not a superstar.
There you go,
but
Mike. That's the
but-
name you wanted to hear right off the bat.
Mike.
Kevin
Brandon
Durant.
Ingram would
What about
help
Durant?
y'all.
Oh
Yeah, a ton.
Hold on.
Whoa.
Exactly, Juju.
I'm not saying Brandon Ingram wouldn't help, and I'm not saying he's not a good player in his own right. It's just quite the fall.
Is it?
I think so.
Is it?
Yeah, from what
Depending on the package.
what hopes and expectations were, is Brandon Ingram.
Donovan Mitchell versus Brandon Ingram is quite the fall.
Yeah, man. I'm not. I gotta talk myself into Brandon Ingram. Like to be trudging through these last few seasons, and for the reward at the end of it to be Brandon Ingram is just like.
But Brandon Ingram can give you what you need every single night.
The most.
He's He can be the go-to guy of the night. He could let Jimmy cook. He could be a facility. Bruh, I think you might need to watch more Pelicans games because Brandon Ingram is that guy.
I don't want to watch more Pelicans games.
That's on you. You
I
want to
don't
watch.
want to
fucking
watch. I'm
COPA.
familiar with Brandon Ingram.
I don't think you are.
I know who Brandon Ingram is.
I know you know who he is. don't think you're familiar
I've
with
watched
game.
his game. Yeah, he's a nice little player. Yeah, is he a superstar to help win the title? I don't
Little
think.
is so condescending to Little. Like he's not a nice little player, bro. He's
Okay,
good.
he's a lanky player,
So-
and he's also one of the highest people I've ever seen play the sport.
I'm out.
So the last 2 years, right, including this is the finals run year, the Heat have been bottom third in offense in the league, and in the half court, bottom 5 2 years ago, bottom 9 last year. This is a team that is suffocating from its lack of offense.
Yeah.
The people around it, if you look like around the Heat in that range of like
You need buckets. Brandon Ingram gets
Orlando.
buckets.
We're talking about Orlando as a neighbor down there. Think about how bad Orlando is offensively.
Yeah.
That's where Miami is. Except Orlando, as bad as it is, still has the Paolo Banchero just go get me one. At absolute worst, right? Miami, Jimmy Butler, you could look through his career. He's not a 25, 28 point per game scorer. He's a timely scorer, but he's not a guy that said, hey, man, just carry me for this whole game.
No, Brandon Ingram would walk in as like the go-to scorer, and it's just not. It's just such a harsh recalibration of expectation. It's
What,
just
but like
bummer.
when you say that, you act like it was okay. Are we gonna get Paul George? Are we gonna get
Michael Jordan?
Are we gonna get Anthony Edwards?
No, I was thinking Donovan Mitchell. I was thinking I was talking myself into Paul George. I still have the pie in the sky scenario of Phoenix realizing that this isn't the path to go down, and you can get someone like Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant excites me more, even at this stage in his career, than a Brandon Ingram. He just does, because I think that with important games on the line, I know what I can get from Kevin Durant, and I just trust him. I have a hard time trusting Brandon Ingram.
Right, but he's not. So you can say, "Oh, Kevin Durant, he's not available." Yeah. When he becomes available, then we can have that conversation. But you can't be like, "You guys promised me Kevin Durant level." Like, and so when you say, so really realistically, your Miami Heat offseason has been ruined, air quotes, by one thing, the thing that just happened today, Donovan Mitchell. And I'm here to tell you, Donovan Mitchell's a very good player. He's a superstar. He's charismatic. He sells tickets. He sells shoes. He sells all that stuff. But the gap between Donovan Mitchell and Brandon Ingram is not like this chasm.
It's not
right,
great.
cool.
It's also to consider Brandon Ingram with the leadership of the Heat culture. That's the part. He's had the Lakers
a great point.
circus. He's had New Orleans where he had to be the guy despite Zion's absence. So imagine him in Spoelstra's locker room. I feel like that would make Brandon Ingram so much better, and he's already good.
It's a great point. It's just hearing Brandon Ingram when, once again, everyone outside of let's just put the Celtics aside because they're just running back a championship side, but everyone else, aren't they?
Like running back as in bringing back the same
they're bringing back the same guys, and it seems the news yesterday they're locking in all their guys and letting some other ownership group worry about the tab.
That's genius.
I
love that.
That is a Jeffrey Loria school of ownership right there.
Minus the success.
Yeah,
wait to see.
Hey, they're tied in championships. Celtics ownership group and Jeffrey Loria, 1 title each.
2.
This Celtics ownership group won.
08.
Oh, this was around in 08?
Yes.
Because I knew that they took on like those Vegas guys like around that time.
Paliuka and Grausbeck. They came in.
Because they have a larger group.
Yeah, but those two guys, those are the two main guys.
I stand corrected. So actually, that's quite a bit of success for that ownership group.
Suck it, Samson.
Since 08.
2-1.
But here's my frustration,
by the way,
and why I just
real
came
quick,
at you
real
two
quick,
up with
real quick,
Brandon
Mike.
Ingram.
Real quick, 2-1, which is one off of the 3-1 Panama score yesterday. Continue.
we'll get there.
That's
but
called a tease.
We will definitely get there. Trust me. I've been waiting for this moment for all my life to get at the U.S. Soccer Federation and Greg Berhalter. And I think you and I were enjoying that game the same amount.
Oh, man.
And you know that I love my U.S. men's national program. But, again, we'll get to it. Here's why like Brandon Ingram just slices me in half. It's because when you consider all the names over the last 10 years, and this is like attempt 3 on Donovan Mitchell, that you haven't seriously been in the game on. But there is just superstar after superstar after superstar that you get excited for, and to be left with surveying the land. And at this point in time, the superstar malcontent that you have to trade all these young players for that you've developed is Brandon Ingram. And at that point, I understand the spin of like, F it, let's just run it back and see what's available in the midseason. It's a second straight year of everyone in the East seemingly getting better, and you're standing pat. I find it really hard to get excited about bringing it back and talking about the Heat's chances, because as of right now, forget playing. This doesn't look like a playoff team. This does not look like a team that can compete inside its own division right now. It's got a lot of ground to make up, and I understand the point. If they're healthy, they're probably the 2nd seed. Okay, and then the 7th seed is going to take them out because they're going to be resting their guys and they're going to be more talented come playoff time. I don't see a path here. You can project all you want that if all those guys played, they're a 2 seed. They're a fraud of a 2 seed. And you also have to take into account that they're a year older. This is as bad a position as the Miami Heat have been since the Waiters and James Johnson era, since the Hassan Whiteside era, where their hands were totally tied behind their back because they dished out bad contracts that were very difficult to move. At least they have pieces on their roster that they can move. Now, I'm not saying change things just for the sake of changing them because you're desperate, but you got to be.
Sounds like that's exactly.
Yeah, that's 100%.
But you got to be insane to say like running it back is what we should do.
Maybe have Jimmy Butler in the playoff run, and they still got to win in Boston. Like this team is gritty, bro. I don't see what you see. I see the Miami team still as one of the scariest teams in the league as long as they're healthy. Especially if you add a player like Bi. Come on.
I understand the perspective, especially from like a Boston supporter, because
Mike,
that's the boogeyman.
Oh, I'm not a Boston supporter.
Mike.
I love the NBA, brother. Like, I'm not just a Boston supporter scared of no damn body.
Okay.
I'm saying this as a person who watches every single game, WNBA and NBA. I'm saying that Brandon Ingram brings something that you guys could 100% benefit from.
I think the other thing, Mike, that you have to keep in mind is this isn't like, well, boys, back up the cement truck. This is us for life. Like, that's not what's happening here. Like, July 2nd.
A lot can happen just in the next couple of days.
Damian Lillard got traded a day before training camp.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
things
Although
shit
we
happens.
were a year ago, like I got all the social media memories. Like we were already on the Lillard path here.
Yes, but like my point is, shit happens continuously from now up until February, whatever. Shit happens continuously. People get upset. People get disenchanted. People run out of patience.
Hey, and LeBron's still out there.
and Bronny.
Yeah, like LeBron, I guess, is my pivot, my irrational pivot.
The trade packages always end up mattering too, right? So you would have been giving up, likely, your whole young core and your bevy of picks, whatever you have left, to go get Donovan Mitchell and building around Mitchell, Bam, and Jimmy Butler, and hoping that Jimmy Butler didn't then walk in the offseason. You're still in that position with Jimmy. The question becomes...
We're hoping that he doesn't?
If you were to be in... If you were to make a move for Brandon Ingram, for example, what does that trade package look like? For that matter, a guy who's been floated out there, and this is certainly not the name that you want to hear if you're going from Donovan Mitchell, but Zach LaVine, they're talking about attaching a pick to him. So then it puts you in a position of, hey, if you can acquire an asset on top of a guy who can go get his own bucket, then you're back in position to either at the deadline or in the following offseason make the type of moves that you're looking for. Look, this is a negative, no matter what. Look, today's a today Heat fans are allowed to be upset about Donovan Mitchell not being here, but it doesn't have to be the end of the world.
Jeremy,
it is the beginning of the summer.
Jeremy, I want to ask Mike a question. Other than 2010, what was your franchise? You act like every year y'all got the best way.
Talent acquisition.
Name names.
Shaquille O'Neal, Brian Grant before him.
Brian Grant.
Alonzo Mourning before him.
Tim
Hardaway.
Grant is
Like they were.
Tim Hardaway had
Lamar
no
Odom.
need. Tim
Lamar
Hardaway
Odom is rich.
Okay, hold on. Here we go.
We're talking about
Watch this. Tim Hardaway had no knees, and everyone thought his career was over when they got him. Like, Alonzo Mourning, cool. All right. So
is this your counter to me rattling off like 17 examples? The Heat's identity is always talent acquisition.
I'm going to go through every fucking name you just named because you act like every summer they walked in with the best free agent guys. Look who I'm with now. Like, that's not what they do.
No. What they do is the best trade available. They're always in that conversation.
Count them. 3 big off seasons. 1, Alonzo Mourning. Absolutely. That was the big
But that wasn't an off season. That was midseason. I
No,
believe.
it wasn't. It was the summertime.
It was?
Glenn Rice for Alonzo Mourning.
Okay.
Right? Number 2 was Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah. Jamal Mashburn was also a pretty aggressive move.
Are you high right now?
Jamal Mashburn was an aggressive move. I'm just saying, like, this team...
So you want anything. You just want anything. Just do something. Do something, guys. Move things around. Oh, now I feel better. We did something.
I now realize like how annoying it is when someone just gets louder when you're trying to have like a conversation.
You are
I'm saying
irrational.
Let
me finish my point.
I'm being rational. The Miami Heat's identity is always being in on the talent. And succeeding. And now they're failing.
Alonzo Mourning, Shaquille O'Neal, Chris Bosh, and LeBron James.
Yeah.
Other than that, and I guess Jimmy Butler.
That's a lot of examples.
That's 4 in
Jimmy
40
Butler,
years.
To his point, you didn't want Jimmy Butler either.
And you didn't want Jimmy Butler.
You didn't want him.
I had to talk y'all motherfuckers into him.
Hold on. Yes.
I had to talk y'all into him.
I wasn't the biggest Jimmy Butler fan, but getting Jimmy Butler with zero cap room is an example of what this franchise used to be. Aggressive all-in moves to get superstars. Whether I rated Jimmy Butler as much as his superstar tag allowed for, that doesn't really matter. He was a superstar. He was an all-star player.
Juju, so he wasn't. They fought
He
against.
became a superstar here.
So, but Juju, finish or Tony, finish the line for me. So you got 4 times. 2 of them were good. 1 of them was and the other was Jimmy Butler over 10 years. What's that?
10-year one.
That's a one hot thing over 10-year average.
Right.
Stop acting like you guys are doing this thing every damn year. You sound like a Laker fan. We're like, everybody wants to play for the Lakers. Like, yeah, in like 1987. But the reality is the history of this franchise is not wheeling and dealing all the time. It's just they've had high-profile ones that have brainwashing to thinking, we've got the whale hunter. We've got Captain Ahab out here on this. She blows.
Yeah,
a hump like a snowmill.
Why would I think that?
It's his superstar Nick.
Why would I think that when after every season, Pat Riley gets in front of a microphone to once again ramp up.
He didn't do that this year.
Joe Biden got in front of a microphone. Doesn't matter. What I'm saying is, at the end of the day, these teams, y'all's mantra is the tough. I don't know the
toughest,
toughest,
hardest
roughest
working.
That doesn't stand for superstars. That means we work hard, and I feel like Brandon Ingram is a hard worker that could benefit y'all. Is all I'm saying.
Okay.
And Brandon Ingram, by
Show
the
me.
way.
Show me, because if
Jimmy Butler shows you, and Kyle, you didn't like Kyle Lowry,
No,
but
I hated
he
it. I was
went to
right.
the finals with Kyle Lowry, and he benefited and he contributed. So
I think they went to the
feel
finals
doesn't
in spite
matter.
of Kyle Lowry.
Look, by the way, Lowry is when they got Lowry, he was at a higher position than Tim Hardaway when he was acquired. Like at that point in their
Why are you
careers,
season on the Tim Hardaway thing? Like the Zoe was
okay,
a move. Like
you know why? Because season on Jamal Mashburn doesn't do numbers.
Okay,
that's why.
No. But Jamal Mashburn was one of the top names available in the midseason trade deadline.
Brian
They got
Grant?
him.
Go ahead.
Lamar Odom, you can have your opinions on
Two
Lamar Odom.
strikes.
It
Yeah,
changed the trajectory of the franchise.
had
Goran
two strikes.
Dragic was the biggest name available at that trade
You
deadline.
hated him too. You thought Tyler Johnson was better.
We
than him.
celebrated when we got Dragic, didn't we?
I had a very popular Vine.
You hated
Lamar
him.
Odom and Brandon Ingram you can't say Lamar Odom is a bigger draw than Brandon Ingram.
Hey, Juju, you're a basketball aficionado. How many times an All-Star has Lamar Odom been?
I don't.
Zero.
I can't.
Zero.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Right? Like, how many times had the Goran Dragic been an All-Star at that
Right.
point?
Well, Lamar
Zero.
Odom changed the trajectory of where they were going, and it was an aggressive, splashy move. So, and he then ended up being a key piece in the Shaquille O'Neal acquisition. Dude, I don't know what to tell you. If you don't think that the Miami Heat's whole DNA is built as much on superstar acquisition as it is on the culture BS, then I don't know what to tell you. This has always been a team that has been aggressive in the trade market. And let me tell you something. While I keep hearing about how Daryl Morey, how does he have draft capital? He's in the conversation every goddamn year. And he finds a way to make it happen. He found a way to make it happen again with Paul George. He keeps stealing your lunch money, Daryl Morey. Daryl Morey is what people think and wish and hope Pat Riley can be today.
Daryl Morey, one conference finals appearance in his career.
Yep.
In his career. Houston and Philadelphia.
Okay, he's had...
No, congratulations. That's the guy.
Okay.
Ooh, yes.
How many-
Save me.
let me ask
Save
you-
me, Daryl
How-
Morey.
excuse me.
Take me to the promised land of the
Excuse me.
second goddamn round.
How many conference finals do you think he gets to? How many do you think he wins if Eric Spoelstra is his head coach?
Get out of here, man.
What? Get out of here. No. This is a big piece of it.
Yes.
Yes, he has a lot more success.
So he has
what
like,
I'm
what,
saying,
2 more?
reward the head coach with aggressive moves as a GM.
Bob,
you're-
it's July 2nd.
Okay.
It is July 2nd.
No, in my mind, it's 2.5 years. Two and a half years of whiffs.
In the middle of that, they were in the NBA Finals.
Got it. Yeah, and that's always going to be the rebuttal.
And a conference finals.
It's always going to be the rebuttal.
2.5 years.
And if I say
Game 7 conference finals and NBA finals.
It slaps way harder than me telling you they've been in the play-in 2 consecutive years.
It slaps way harder than Jamal Mashburn and Brian Grant and Tim Hardaway. That's where it slaps harder than.
These were aggressive moves. I don't.
These are aggressive moves that are just aggressive for the sake of aggression and not because they're actually like things that you take home and put on a fridge. Say, look at what I did today.
They got Ray Allen. They got Goran Dragic. I literally rattled off 25 names. And you go to Tim Hardaway's knees. Just unreal.
I went through every
Just
name.
unreal.
I went through every name you gave me.
All right, let's talk about something
I believe.
that we both
I
agree
believe
on.
that. I believe that we will. I believe that we will lose. I believe that we will lose. I believe that we got an ass beat. I believe that Panama is better. I believe that this goes la 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 la. U.S. sucks.
Oh, I thought you were still making fun of Heat fans.
U.S. sucks.
I don't think that's how the chant goes.
I think it's how it goes. Look, I watched the game from the Goodyear blimp, ladies and gentlemen. Bird's eye view. So I could see all of the little ants running around on the field. And let me tell you something about U.S. soccer that has not changed over the 150,000 years they've been playing. I don't care who the names are. I don't care the bloodlines, whatever you want to talk about. It's undeniable that this country plays like a pickup game every damn time. Sometimes they win. A lot of times they lose, excuse me. But they play like a pickup game. What I mean by is so many times, first of all, complete lack of accuracy in the short game. Passes going far, short, out of bounds. Guys making passes that are panic passes. They don't know what the next play is. It's like, let me get this to get rid of it. You pass it to nobody, right? Blinders on in the scoring area, in the scoring third, right? Last night, Haji Wright. You got a man right here. Like, well, I got to shoot the ball because I'm a strike.
I think more knockout goals in international competition than Cristiano Ronaldo, Haji Wright.
Congratulations. Now take your ass home.
More World Cup elimination goals than Cristiano Ronaldo.
Take your ass home and put that on your
What
fridge.
you're saying is not wrong. And I think last night, it doesn't often happen where I'm just like actively rooting against my team, especially when it comes to the national teams. A handful of times there was one USF game against Randy Shannon where I wanted Randy Shannon out in the worst way. I was just cheering for USF at that point. Last night was one of those nights. And I got big up to Bielsa for actually going for it, even though he was suspended, putting out there an aggressive starting 11 for Uruguay to show you. This U.S. men's national team program has lost to Panama on home soil twice in the last 12 months. And there's been a lot of golden generation talk, and there's been a lot of talent talk. And I will concede that this is probably, when you look at the clubs that these guys are playing with, when you look at the actual talent on the field, this is worthy of people saying this is one of the more talented U.S. soccer generations ever. So if you want to take swipes at the talent,
Isn't it supposed to be the best team ever? Like, isn't this supposed to be the team that's supposed to win the World Cup America is hosting?
It's been dubbed the Golden Generation, and they've lost to Panama twice in the last 12 months.
Everything that glitters ain't gold, Billy.
Who could have seen this coming outside of everyone who has followed U.S. soccer passionately over the last 5 years?
I follow it very passionately.
Yeah, and you knew one day this day would come. Now, I don't know if the federation's actually going to do the right thing. I'm so over this federation and the nepotism that exists within it that I don't expect them to actually do the right thing. So this is an appeal to Greg Berhalter. Resign with 2 Gs. You step aside. You got brought back. And I feel like he got brought back.
New T-shirt, resign,
Yeah,
2
dude,
Gs.
yeah,
right. Yeah, merch
I
shop,
feel like
get
he got
on it.
brought back
Le Batard
because the
AF.
U.S. Soccer Federation wanted to avoid a lawsuit. A lawsuit, by the way, a mess that was entirely constructed by Greg Berhalter because he couldn't shut his trap around reporters. And he made an ugly situation even uglier with Gio Reyna. He couldn't keep that in behind the locker room doors. He couldn't do that. That had to play out in the public sphere. Okay, fine. He's brought back. What did you think was going to happen with Greg Berhalter out there? This guy wants to come in and play like Barcelona and boss teams that he's more talented than.
Play what? Like
Boss
what?
Panama. You can't boss Panama.
Hold on. Play what?
Play like Barca football, but play possession football. There's no you just mentioned it. There's no possession here. If I don't trust this team if they travel to El Salvador to play them off the pitch.
Dude, saying they want to play like Barcelona is like saying the Detroit Pistons want to play like the 2017 Warriors.
I understand. Look, take swipes at the talent all you want. I will say for U.S. soccer history, there's plenty of great examples of them showing up with a gritty 11 and playing a defensive style, a counterattacking style, and getting the results needed. They did it against literally the greatest soccer team I have ever seen with Spain in the Confederations Cup. I've seen this country, when it adopts that mentality, actually get success. Lean on the athleticism. Long ball it to a speedster over the top. Get a goal. Because in the international game, it's not how you do it. It's doing it.
Amen.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's fair. It's not how you do it. It's doing it, but it's also how you do it. Like they don't. Like,
ask Greece if they liked how they did it in 06.
No, I get it. Like there's always going to be an example of someone who just like Italy is the example most of the time, right? Like where they just their way to a championship. But my point is this. Like you keep talking about the talent, but the talent doesn't play like it's talented. It plays like it plays hard. I think they play hard.
I don't think so.
I
don't think they play hard enough.
I think they play dumb. They play
Yes.
dumb.
Yes.
And that's the part where you can have as many players as you want playing in the EPL and in Germany and all these places. But like if they come back and they still play dumb like they're from New Jersey, like I'm sorry.
New Jersey catching it straight. New Jersey's one of the great soccer states.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
A lot of great talent came out of New Jersey.
No, he's right. One of the great soccer states. United States. United States of suck, right? New Jersey is not like Rio. It's not like.
I think we're in agreement in
Paris,
terms of how they play. Like you and I can have their disagreements about the level of talent. That's fine. If someone wants to tell me how can you say they're talented when they're losing to the likes of Panama, I concede. Fine. I think this team does play stupid.
Dumb.
And I think it just goes back to the general approach and the ego. What I don't like about Greg Berhalter, what I've told him to his face on Chelsea Mic'd Up, I think this style is really, really dumb to play on the international level. I think I will concede that when you get to the knockout stages, this team is not going to be as talented as some of their opponents. And I will also concede that that does not matter. That does not matter, especially when you're hosting a World Cup in 2026. We've seen it time and time again in this sport. You don't have these guys in your camp for a very long time. So while you're trying to institute this really sophisticated attacking scheme with where you have all this possession, you have these guys in your camp for like 4 days at a time. What are you doing? Just be organized with defense. Get guys that play smart. Get guys that can adopt your mentality as a manager, can carry that message out and not beat themselves. What the U.S. Soccer Federation did, which is, I theorize, avoid a lawsuit by bringing Greg Berhalter back. But what they did in doing so is they gave the players exactly what they wanted. If you look at camp, everybody's so loose. We're having so much fun. Everyone loves Greg. Kumbaya. There are a lot of championship teams that hated their manager. Carly Lloyd spoke to it. We won titles. We hated our manager. Yeah. You need a manager that holds people personally responsible because, how can you blame Greg Berhalter for Tim Weah punching a guy? I can. That comes with a mentality. It all starts with that leader there, and you let a bunch of kids handpick their guy and look at the results. Now, no more making you happy. No, you don't have a say in this. You're going to have a manager that should come in there, run you ragged, and make you hate the sport of soccer. That's what you deserve.
So you want Jose Mourinho?
Oh, you know me. And Mourinho, like, look, I don't want to make this a Mourinho thing because that's a headline grabber and people will turn that into something. I want an adult. Here, let me tell you. And Jose Mourinho fits his profile, which is why we'll go with Jose Mourinho as the avatar for this. I want an adult that has succeeded at the highest level. What has Greg Berhalter done to be worthy of 5 years on the job? What has he done? He's a loser. He is a career loser. Don't talk to me about times that he had in Columbus. Get real. I want someone that has had success on the club level, the international level, success at the highest level. Because when he tells your ass to be running laps with a tracker on your back, you at least know it's coming from someone that you should respect. Greg Berhalter doesn't command a room. I don't respect Greg Berhalter. How's Tim Weah supposed to respect Greg Berhalter? I told Greg Berhalter to his face his tactics were wrong. Mike, that guy's a loser. He's a chump.
Mike, let me ask you a question, man. How much of this is the Soccer Federation's overconfidence in the MLS as a source of anything?
I think what this is the Soccer Federation doesn't actually answer to anyone. And we don't exist in a country where they actually feel the heat, which is why they brought Greg Berhalter back in the first place. While his brother's there in the Federation and just totally ignoring the passionate fan base that there is, such that it is. Look, I wish that I lived in a country where the lower third is not Klay Thompson agrees to 3 or $50 million.
Big deal,
where it's plastered from television to television. Greg Berhalter has to go. I don't live in that country. I don't think I ever will live in that country. It's a different place.
And that's why you fail. Not you, this country. When it comes to this, that's why
you get a coddled federation.
You get a subpar product, right? Given the resources that this country has, right?
The federation is pulling in dough.
It's the resources, the infrastructure, all that stuff. It staggers me. Like when I watch U.S. games and I see these people in the crowd, I'm like, who are actually, wait, you guys actually think that the result is going to be something different? Like it staggers me when you said yesterday that the 1998 team was supposed to do things. I'm like, do what? Do what, man?
Dude, you see some of their matches against Brazil and Argentina in the lead up to that
The
World
lead
Cup.
up.
It was,
You can talk about exhibition friendlies,
no,
man.
no. I'm not talking about exhibitions. I'm talking about Gold Cups and Copa America. It's like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, it's all right. You don't have to have amazing recall of the 1995 U.S. men's soccer team. It's cool.
98.
I'm just going to be there to check you
We're
on
talking
it.
about 98.
Like,
We're not talking about 95. We're talking about 98.
No, but like 95, 96, 97, there are other competitions that exist. If you want to like cast those aside and say that they're not, like, look at the Brazil roster that U.S. men's national team hung with in the mid-90s. Look at it. Look at the Argentinian roster.
I ain't gotta look
like
at
there was.
I'm rocking the shit right
Dude,
now. What
like,
you talking about, man?
It's a different game. It's not about. It's not always about talent. Do you need talented players? Yes, but you need cohesion. You need a different approach.
Sure, but you also need talent. Like, yes, you're right.
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, and I'm not even disagreeing with. Like, I'm a person who I'm an aesthetic snob. I like to see it played right.
You actually would like Greg Berhalter's style if he ever actually
if they
could
knew how to
implement
play it right, if they had the talent and the discipline to play it. But aesthetic,
or if it wasn't soaked in ego to even try to attempt that when you're playing on a choppy pitch with rocks on it in El Salvador.
Well, I mean, you can play that way on a choppy pitch in El Salvador with rocks on it if you have players who grew up playing on choppy pitches with rocks on them. But the problem is you got guys that came up to these academies with these manicured lawns and everything. Oh, there's a $750 fee to enter. No problem. We've got it. Like, that's your talent base.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't take them to them weird-ass places. It's not like Brazil or Argentina or many of these other places or even France where these kids grew up playing in environments, right? But I digress. What I'm trying to say is this.
Environment.
You're right. You're right in that cohesion matters. You're right in that having a scheme and being able to execute it matters. You're even right. I'll even allow you that, hey, man, sometimes it's just a 30-yard bomb in a cloud of dust, and then we fall back.
That's this nation's identity,
right? Like,
for the men's team, that's how they win. That's when they have their success. And great goalkeeping to bail you out.
Yes, but there's a cap to that if you don't have talent. There's a cap. Like, that's good enough for a round of 32 in the World Cup.
Yep.
That's good enough maybe for a round of 16.
In 02, like they got to the quarterfinals in 02. Torsten Frings had a handball.
That's the best American team I've ever seen.
Well, in terms of results, hard to argue.
And they played a style that was conducive to what they had talent-wise.
A giant killing style.
Yes,
and there are good moments in this national team's program, and there's an identity there. And yes, what you're saying is right. The soccer culture in this country, you can't expect to have dogs on your team when you're going against guys that have been playing barefoot in favelas, and it's literally their way out. You're not going to meet that mentality, that intensity, but you can beat them in other ways. Structure, organization, a commitment to a common goal. And it starts from the top. It starts from that U.S. Soccer Federation. If I ask you, who's the director of the U.S. Soccer Federation? Who's in charge here? People don't know. And that allows for this whole attitude of people that don't have to be held accountable for their actions. So, Greg, I have zero faith in them, even though they made a good hire with Emma Hayes.
Greg Cody?
Greg Berhalter, 2 G's.
What has he done?
I am asking you, dude. You need to realize that this is a sham, an embarrassment, and they, in all likelihood, brought you back to avoid a lawsuit. So do the right thing, walk away, because you are not that guy. 2026 is around the corner. This team doesn't have qualifiers to actually find their form. What are you going to do that you haven't done in the last 5 years? We've seen enough. We've seen enough. Red card, Tim Weah. Oh, hard luck. You lost to them twice in 12 months, pal. Get out of here. You stink. You were given a job that you shouldn't have had in the first place, and against all odds, they brought you back, in spite of every U.S. soccer fan telling you this was going to happen. They didn't get out of a group with Bolivia and Panama in it. Bielsa was reveling at the opportunity. He was licking his chops as he was suspended to try and attempt to put a nail in your coffin. Bielsa, who the U.S. Soccer Federation didn't want to hire whatsoever because they know what they're doing. They brought in the sporting director from Southampton, everybody. Clear a lane. It's a joke of a federation. And you got 2026 staring at you like the barrel of a gun. So wake the up and make an aggressive move. There are big names available out there. Mourinho, fine. Klopp, fine. Give me a professional.
Brandon Ingram.
Give me a professional with something on his resume and a dude that can walk into a room and command respect, because these children out there are not respecting the manager, and it's playing out on the field. It's playing out on the field. You have a golden opportunity. You're going to ruin it. U.S. soccer, you're standing in your own way, and you don't see it. You don't see it. Take this seriously. It's happened twice in my adult life, a World Cup, here on a men's World Cup here on U.S. soil, and you piss it away. We spent 18 months with the result, knowing the result of the World Cup and the mess that was left in our wake in Qatar. You spent several months in this asinine job search just to bring the guy back, and what does he do to reward your faith in him?
He loses to Panama.
A huge national embarrassment. Why was there? Hey, you want to talk to me about offside? I wish CONMEBOL and CONCACAF came out with a joint statement and said, fine, he was offside. Panama still goes through. Panama scored 3 goals. You want to talk about the U.S. talent? Panama looked talented. Where is the U.S. talent? And Christian Pulisic, I love you. I think you are generally.
Pronounce your name right.
I think you are genuinely, I meant to say, the most talented attacking player this country has maybe ever seen. I think you're worthy of that praise. I think you're a Champions League winner. You showed in Serie A that it's not a fluke. You're one of the best players in Serie A for AC Milan. You finally showed that you can stay healthy, and I think you got the proper mindset. But this moment right here, where he tries to go and shake the official's hand, I think he allegedly said, go celebrate with Uruguay. Okay, dude, that's fine. You got away with acting like such a petulant child on the pitch. I mean, you should have been given a yellow card.
The official kind of acted like a child here in this
No.
video.
Chris,
if you would have seen what Pulisic did that didn't get carded during the actual run of play, where he was just he made contact with the official, he was acting like a child.
Chris, he walked up and he talked. He said,
No, I
go
saw,
celebrate with
I saw the
Uruguay. I
clips.
wouldn't shake your
But I'm
hand.
just saying, I feel like the official can be the bigger person there and give like a.
"What the hell with that? Go take your losing ass
Yeah,
home."
that's your captain, and it's just
You
not.
should have gave him a fines.
Hey.
That guy was Christian Pulisic was insulting that official up and down. Was he officiating great last night? No. So what? You have a game for your lives in a Copa America. You didn't. This is the first time I think since they actually had regular host in Copa America that the host didn't get out of the group stage.
I believe so.
I think they started this format in 1987.
Yep.
Maybe I read that tweet wrong, but they gifted a path to the knockout stages to the U.S. and Greg Berhalter biffed it. Not only that,
Now, Biff.
Jesse Marsh, who's American, who Greg Berhalter openly feuds with because anytime anyone says anything about Greg Berhalter, his antennas go up and he feels like he has to address it because that's a mentality we have in that position. Jesse Marsh makes it to the knockout stages with Canada in a tougher group. Bad looks all around.
Canada.
You could have had Jesse Marsh. He at least has some credentials. He at least has done some things over in Europe.
Yo.
But you didn't go Jesse Marsh. You went with Greg Berhalter. You went with now his mortal enemy. And Jesse Marsh has dragged Canada to the knockout stages. It's a joke of a federation. It's not all on Greg Berhalter. Greg Berhalter has been who he has always been. There is zero surprise with Greg Berhalter laying an egg here.
What has he done?
All right. Witty is there.
You know what's amazing? In the modern age of the internet, we have never seen a photo with Vanessa Carlton and Terry Crews together.
That's such a good point.
They've had to have bumped in. Well, I don't know what Vanessa Carlton's up to, but like, how have they not crossed paths?
Mike, maybe they did. You just don't know what the she looks like.
I know what Vanessa Carlton looks like. I was in high school during TRL.
She was not on TRL.
I didn't.
Was she?
Yes, 1,000 Miles was 1,000% featured on TRL.
Was TRL still on the air by then?
That music video.
She could have
was
walked in
huge.
here and I wouldn't
It
have
was
known.
huge. She was on a flatbed truck playing the piano.
Mike,
how do you do these
There's
things?
parodies of that in all sorts of TV
but you
shows.
guys, like, I think you guys are music heads. I think most people know the song and probably couldn't tell you what she looks like. They know her name.
come in here and
I
slap
feel
me
like
in
that's
the
the more
face.
like
I'll be like,
knowing
why did
exactly what she looks like is I think a little
She's
more
like
music niche.
if Michelle Branch is the late stage Pokemon, Vanessa Carlton's like the mid stage.
But if you put them
That's
side by
Witty.
side, I won't know who's who.
Let's ask Witty if he knows.
yeah.
When I close my
Witty,
eyes.
hey, welcome aboard, Chris Wittyngham from Paramount and and soccer
and the New York Rangers fan club.
and the New York.
Oh, I got so many things on you today,
Okay,
brother.
yeah, we'll give people their pound of flesh when it comes to the hockey in a moment, but I have to ask you a more pressing question. Actually, 2 pressing questions just on the heels of the last segment. Have you ever raw dogged a flight?
Raw dog in what sense?
My man.
In
Both
that
of them.
in that
Both
sense,
senses.
raw dogging a flight. Quite briefly here is that no booze, no gummies, no headphones, no music. You're just
Ooh,
looking straight ahead,
no
looking at
reading.
the flight map.
No book.
Yeah, you're just locked in your entire flight. You're just looking straight forward, raw dogging it.
No sleeping also, because
I don't think I've ever done that. No.
Say
And
raw
just,
dog.
just
never raw dogged.
just staring ahead. No, I've never done that before. Maybe every once in a while, like the last 45 minutes of a flight, I'll stare at the map, but never for the whole thing. Never for the whole thing.
It's because it's becoming like a social media thing. Raw
Yeah,
dogging.
I saw that. It was like a GQ article or something where like someone
You
was
saw
writing
what?
up how this is a thing.
What was the name of the
Why are
article?
you trying to get this soundbite of me saying that?
Just
I don't
Google-
understand.
Just do me a favor
Saying
right
what?
now. Google raw dogging.
and narrate as you type.
I'm
the
shocked
words.
Witty doesn't call it gentleman's quarterly.
And the second quick question that we have is, do you know what Vanessa Carlton looks like?
No,
Yeah.
no. I've no idea what she looks like.
It looks like
and
Vanessa-
and while you were discussing that, I looked up 1,000 Miles came out in 2002, which was kind of like my peak TRL watching period, and I have no recollection of even heard that music video.
So like, when you think
Or-
of that, you only think of Terry Crews, right?
yes.
Yeah.
So it turns out Vanessa Carlton and Eve visited TRL All Access Week at the MTV Beach House in Seaside Heights, New Jersey on the same day,
Ew.
July 16, 2002.
That was a good MTV Beach House.
I feel like TRL didn't TRL have like a beach house in San Diego? That's the one that I seem to remember the most.
I remember when they went to Mexico as well.
Yeah,
That was a good
that
one,
was
too.
fun.
Yeah.
I think that
Two
was when
Americas.
Fred Durst blew up a sailboat.
Was that the year
with
they
the
did
dynamite?
Spring or
Like he did
Break?
like the Wile E. Coyote thing.
Dude, man, they used to have such budgets.
Yeah, there was also like a Bush performance where I don't know how they weren't electrocuted, which was a lot like the Panthers parade. We'll
George?
get back to that in a second.
We got-
Remember
we got
cable
1,000
TV?
miles. We got 1,000-mile hood version. That's the one I know. It's like making my way downtown with your boo, and that stick is on me. Salute.
Yeah, well, everything's going to be cable TV again, it seems. But let's talk about some soccer real quick. And we got a real cool promotion that our partners over at DraftKings
Yes.
have provided. Not just one, but 2 massive soccer tournaments going on right now. Level of play, we'll get into that in a second. But our partners over at DraftKings Sportsbook have an offer for all customers. That's right. Every single customer. When you place a pre-match 3-way moneyline bet on a team to win only, if that bet ends in a draw, you get that original bet back as a bonus. If you've been following at Le Batard Show, I've been posting some picks up there. We're doing pretty well. The only time that we actually lost a bet was when Greg Berhalter decided to lose to Panama. But even then, we got the goal scorer right. So basically, yesterday I was on France. I was sitting pretty that entire game because I knew, you know what? If this ends in a draw, I get my bet back as a bonus bet. But we won. So the soccer hasn't been super great, but you have this draw breaker deal over there in your back pocket. Make it a little bit more exciting. Euro 2024 or Copa America only. Pre-match money line bets to win only. Max reward varies. Opt-in required only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
Hell yeah.
Witty, let us talk about the main topic of conversation here in this country when it comes to soccer, and that is the U.S. failing to get out of their group in Copa America. Who could have seen this coming except for everybody, Chris?
I mean, I don't think that people would have seen the U.S. losing at home to Panama coming. I think that.
Did you not
look
see a
at-
couple of months ago when they did it? Like this is like they're doing this. They're making this a thing.
Okay, the last time that they did it was in the Gold Cup when they were playing like a C squad. If you look at the starting lineup that day, it wasn't the U.S. men's national team. It was their kind of third or fourth best team. But either way, look, that the red card happens, and when you're not good enough, which the U.S. have not been, certainly from an attacking point of view under Greg Berhalter, you are left to the vagaries of international football. And that's exactly what's happened here. And I think this was the tournament where I would say until now, everything of the Berhalter era was passing. It was, a C plus, B minus student. They did enough to qualify for the World Cup. They did enough to get out of the group in the World Cup. They seemed to bring through a generation of young players that were forming a decent amount of cohesion. Things were at the standard that they should have been before. But this, I think, was the cycle for them to take that next step up, and they've had numerous opportunities. They played Germany last October. They got smoked. They played Colombia this summer. They got smoked. They played Brazil and got a draw. And ultimately, this tournament wasn't even about getting out of the group. It was about beating one of the big teams. Uruguay, Colombia, Brazil, Argentina. Beating one of them. Elevating yourself beyond just hitting the standard and giving the nation a fair amount of hope for the World Cup in 2026 that's being hosted in the United States, Mexico, and Canada. And instead, the opposite has happened. I think a lot of people are as down on the program as they've ever been. And even if a new manager does come in, they're not going to have the time nor the quality of games to really lift the spirit of the nation. It's entirely going to have to come from their performance in that World Cup. And I don't think that enthusiasm will have built, which is obviously a huge missed opportunity.
You've always been more patient than me in almost every aspect of life. As long as we've been creating soccer content together, we have fundamentally disagreed on the Greg Berhalter experience and all that goes with it. Where are you now?
It's got to end. It's got to end. Like I said, when you went into the last World Cup cycle, there were pretty basic standards to hit, and Greg Berhalter hit them. And I even was okay with this notion that the players backed him. But if you believe that the players backed Greg Berhalter, and these are the results that have been delivered since, again, you go back since he actually took over last September, there are losses to, there should have been a loss to Jamaica in a competitive semifinal that would have sent them crashing out of the CONCACAF Nations League.
Yeah, he might have been fired after that one, considering
Seriously.
the stakes around that one. I remember that being a thing.
Yeah, there was an own goal that bounced off of a Jamaican defender, and that's how the U.S. got into a final against Mexico, and finals against Mexico are the only thing that have kept Greg Berhalter in this job to this point. And Mexico's bad now.
Yeah, Mexico's
not
bad, dude. They're bad.
They're a bad soccer team. They're worse than the United States. So when you look at that standard, he hit that standard, but now it's time to go and hit your home run higher. And the new sporting director, Matt Crocker, did do so with Emma Hayes. He went out. They got rid of Vlatko Andonovski. Everyone said it was the U.S. women's national team's manager's fault at the last World Cup. And over the last cycle, they got rid of him. They brought in the best possible hire, in my opinion, in Emma Hayes. When you look at her pedigree working in Europe in the WSL, her pedigree having some American experience, she is going, and already has done, namely by leaving Alex Morgan off of this Olympic squad, made sweeping changes to the national team. It's time for the men's counterpart to do the same. It's time for somebody to come in who has the gravitas, who has a big voice, and can get that enthusiasm going in the nation. The one thing that is a problem is how attractive is this job? How attractive is international management?
Oh.
We're looking at we're looking
it's
at these
attractive.
Euros.
Host nation of a men's
Sure.
World Cup in 2026, and not just any nation. This one, like in that moment in time, I think it's super attractive. And look, it's a pretty cushy job. You got plenty of job security if Greg Berhalter has anything to say about it.
Yeah, and you also go back to, I think with Berhalter, the other thing that happened too was everything that happened with Gio Reyna at the last World Cup. There was that easy breaking point. And I don't know why U.S. soccer, particularly given the negativity from the fan base, like at a certain point you have to take into account that there is not a lot of enthusiasm around your program. And people say, oh, money this and money that. The U.S. performing like this is not good for anyone.
No,
it's not good for it's not good for people that cover the soccer space. It's not good for the sponsor of Copa America. It's not good for the broadcasters of Copa America. Believe me, nobody bought the rights to Copa America hoping that the U.S. and Mexico crashed out in the group stage. This is an unmitigated disaster for a lot of people. This is not good for anyone.
And Jesse Marsh has made it to the knockout stages with Canada in a tougher group. And him being American, him actually having more of a resume, because Greg Berhalter's resume does not stack up with the job, and to get repeated chances. And you make a great point with the Emma Hayes hire, but this is also a federation that decided, after the mess that was the fallout from Qatar and how ugly that publicly got with the Reynas, to bring him back. So I'm a little hesitant to say that they're just going to replicate the formula with Emma Hayes. You at least had a program that had a sustained level of success, a multiple-time world champion. That culture does not exist on the men's side. Greg Berhalter was actually a culture hire, because they're still struggling to formulate a culture over there. And I don't think it's a good thing that the players had his back. I think it actually worked against him. I think you can blame Tim Weah's emotions in that moment on Greg Berhalter because of this atmosphere that he's cultivated. Carly Lloyd spoke to it yesterday on Fox. Like, we won championships without liking our manager in charge. Sometimes being afraid of the manager is a good thing. What would you like to see in a hire out of the U.S. Soccer Federation if this is indeed the end of Greg Berhalter's time here?
Something that represents a wow factor. I know that sounds very vague, but you're also talking about, again, I do think that internationally, I know your boy Jose Mourinho is someone that you've wanted for the program for a long time, but he was offered the chance to manage his home country, leave Roma and manage his home national team in Portugal, and he said no. If you look at the quality of people that are in charge of the national teams at these tournaments, Brazil couldn't get a top-level manager to come in from abroad. They went for Carlo Ancelotti. They couldn't. They promoted from within, and the manager has largely been unimpressive. Argentina's manager is their promoted under-23s coach. Spain's manager is their promoted under-23s coach. England's manager is their promoted under-23s coach. Generally, the pedigree of national team managers isn't great because it's not as attractive as managing the club game. It's very hard. You have very limited windows. You're not really coaching most of the time. You're kind of managing players. You get players for 3 training sessions and send them out there for major tournaments. It's hard, but I do want that sense of, wow, the U.S. have taken a big swing here, and it represents someone with a pedigree, maybe in Europe, maybe it's a great MLS coach, I don't know, but someone where you go, their background suggests that they are ready to take the U.S. to the next level. Because like I said, this Copa America was about taking the U.S. to the next level. It's the last chance that you get before the home World Cup to suggest to the nation that you're ready to compete at the highest level, and they did the opposite.
Yeah, I would like the wow factor, too, especially since you're hosts. And while Mourinho's turned down jobs, Ancelotti looked certain to be going to Brazil, and then that changes. You do have a manager with pedigree in Jurgen Klopp that is kind of waiting for his next move here. I think that would be a home run. But I would also...
It's sort of like make them say no.
Godfather offers.
Right? Like,
but I wouldn't mind, Chris, I wouldn't mind like an international soccer lifer that just gets results and comes in, has a program, realizes I'm in there to flip this house, essentially. I'm here for like a 3-year window, like a Hervé Renard archetype. Like a type that has gone, like a Scolari archetype that has gone into programs, flipped them, gotten results, and moves on. Like, that's kind of what I want to see here if we're actually talking realistic expectations. But if there's ever a moment in time, Chris, to give up a Godfather offer and make them repeatedly tell you no until you finally break them, it's 2026.
Why is there no sense of urgency to any of this?
I don't understand. And part of Chris, they don't have qualifiers to round into form. That's what was so frustrating about bringing Greg Berhalter back. You've lost valuable time here. This wasn't about just, let's make a nice little showing. This is about beating the teams, as you said. This is about making a deep run because you're not going to have a lot of high-intensity matches in your preparation for 2026. They screwed the pooch from day one bringing him back.
Totally. And, again, there was an easy excuse to not bring him back. And to your point, I think the international calendar really gets in the way of the United States playing difficult games because next summer there's a Club World Cup, so there's a chance that a lot of the big players won't be released for international games. And realistically, over the next 2 years, all the countries from South America and Europe are going to be playing either World Cup qualifiers or Nations League, and really limits the U.S.'s opportunities to schedule games against big opponents. It's going to be a lot of playing against the other CONCACAF teams, playing against teams from Asia or Oceania or countries that are not going to really elevate your standard. I mean, you ask a really good question. Where is that sense of urgency? I think that's a really good point because this national setup, the U.S. Soccer Federation, appears to have been happy with Greg Berhalter for the entire 5 years and kind of living in their own bubble where they think this is going great. We believe in this guy. Whatever he's doing behind the scenes is getting everyone going. And they seem to be the only ones this entire time that have thought, wow, what a great job he's doing. And at some point, you kind of got to step out of the bubble and go, we're nowhere near it. We're nowhere near it. And you can talk about the players not being as good as everyone talks, as everyone says they are, but we don't even see the versions of the players that Christian Pulisic is for Milan for the U.S. men's national team, that Tim Weah is for Juventus for the U.S., Weston McKennie is for Juventus in the U.S. Like, we don't see that version of those players, and ultimately, when those players aren't hitting their ceiling or scoring goals, because the kind of low-key thing is that they've been good defensively over these last 2 major tournaments. At the World Cup, they scored 2 goals, and they conceded 2 goals in the group stage. In this Copa America, they scored 3 goals and conceded 2 goals. So they've actually, they conceded 3 goals. Yeah. So they've actually been fine defensively. It's this attacking group where theoretically that's where your best players are that don't deliver. The strikers have never delivered under Greg Berhalter. And so I think they do have to step out of that bubble and realize the next 2 years, even though you don't have the games to really prep, is the time to make an impression and get the fan base excited, because they have not done, and there is no urgency. You're 100% right.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.